What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 368 of Opinions May Vary. I am your host, JR. I have my co-host with me, Alex.
Hey.
I almost switched it up. Did you hear me there?
Yeah, you were stalling.
I was gonna say, like, joining me this week. I defaulted back to the normal, and we're gonna go from there. Joining us this week, in addition to Alex, this is already a mess. Our very good friend, and this episode, it wouldn't be the same without him, so we are very fortunate to have him on. Is our very good friend, Joe.
Hey, guys.
Joe, thank you so much for coming on.
I missed you guys.
It's been an embarrassingly long time, literally a year, almost to the day-ish. Because last year, we last had you on to talk about PAX things, and lo and behold, we have you on to talk about PAX things.
It feels appropriate.
Who knew
Yeah.
that's what was happening this week?
This is also kind of like the original, though, because I had originally got the PAX tickets and then handed them off to you guys because I couldn't go. So it feels appropriate to be here
Is
for
that
this.
2014, I believe?
2014.
Yep.
So is this on and off the 6th year of OMV talking about?
Fifth? Sixth?
Because we went in 14,
16,
14,
17,
15,
18,
16, 17, 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Of at
Time's weird.
least one PAX, because we've expanded our repertoire.
Yeah.
PAX-es?
Yep, we've gone to Unplugged a couple times now. We never even talked about it on the show because I was an attendee. I didn't even do media or anything like that, but I went to South back in January.
Jeez.
And I brought along my brother-in-law and his wife, along with my wife, and we experienced that. That's a whole nother story.
So
we have
that's 8.5 PAXes total. I'm counting South as 8.5.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because you got 2
two
unplugs, the 6 East. Well, hey, I'm happy to be here.
I don't know how many I've done anymore.
You've done 3 now.
I thought it was 3.
Yeah.
You did 2014, you did 16 and 18. No, you did 2014, 17, and 19.
Okay.
Yes.
For some reason, I thought I had an 18 pin. Unless you got me a set of pin. Anyway.
I did buy you a corset.
But you weren't here. You weren't there last year.
Right.
Yeah.
You were not, yeah, but
That I
you
recall.
wanted a corset because of the green flame pin, I
That's
believe.
right.
Which is right there. I'm looking at it. We have so much to talk about, and we're going to dive right into it. We've already wasted 2.5 minutes. PAX East 2019 was last weekend. A week ago, right now, we were pretty much on our way. It's hard to believe it's already been a week. But we did a lot. We played a lot. We saw a lot. And now it's time to talk about all the lots. I figure this year we could change it up a little bit. In the past, historically, we talk about the games first, and then we move on to the panels. This year, I think maybe ending with the games will be a little bit sweeter. You know, give the people what they want. Let them end. I don't know. We're talking about panels first, which in the past was something that we neglected because we were so caught up with everything else. But now, being the crafty veterans of PAX that we are, I think we're a little bit better at time management. We're a little bit better at a little,
Slightly.
like not great, but like we can actually look at the program and go, you know, I'm kind of interested in that. I should probably check this out. And then sometimes we actually make it there. But I did because I remember at Unplugged the first year, panels were my jam because I was socially inept and I could not find the courage to play board games with anyone. So I did. I was like the panel guy, and I found a new obsession in the Omegathon, and I've been to at least one round of the Omegathon at every PAX I've gone to since. I even dragged my brother-in-law to it, and everyone else at South back in January. It's kind of my thing now. I like to check out one round of the Omegathon. It's just fun. It's a fun thing, and the crowd gets hyped sometimes. But as far as panels go this year, we did mix it up a little bit. Alex and I kind of split off.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, you were doing games all weekend,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, from the moment we hit the floor to the moment we walked out.
Bear with me while we hijack this for a little bit.
I have so many questions, so I'm really excited about this right now. Yeah.
So, did you go to any on Thursday, Alex?
Yeah.
What did you hit on Thursday?
I wanted to find the Promote Your Indie Games Like a Damn Professional.
Like you wanted to find it, like because you're a professional, or is that the full title?
That's the title of the game. That's the title of the panel, because I figured if I'm gonna do my job and talk to people who want to promote their games, I should enable them
like
to
a
do
professional.
that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm looking to promote, but I figure I could better facilitate their promotioning if I know what they're looking to talk about and what they're trying to do. There was 5 panelists: Tom from Cards Against Humanity, Sherry from Breaking Games. We met her later in that same day. Maya Coleman from Secret Hitler, John Ritter from Lay Waste Games, Luke Crane from Burning Wheel, and Tanya Short from Kit Fox Games.
I know that name, Maya. She does like their...
There's an X in the middle too. Maya X Short. Tanya X Short. No, Maya Coleman.
Yeah, I believe she's the
community manager.
Yeah,
Yep.
They hired her to like help with the
Right.
unbelievable amounts of questions and comments and concerns, and like I
that's-
see her all over Kickstarter.
That is
responding to
her
people.
job.
Yeah.
She was hired to talk to the community.
Wow.
and for Secret Hitler, right? But she, for the entire company now as well. That's where I learned that Secret Hitler Online is a thing, because one of their things that they talked about, if you want to promote a game, you should, when it's out there or while it's in testing, you should try and keep as well tabs on it as you can. And so that includes like seeing what people have to say about it, seeing where they're playing it, when they're playing it, and to discover like, oh, it's online. We didn't put it online. It's not official, but people liked it so much as what they're doing with it now. And even if it's not face-to-face or in person, they get to see what's going on. Sometimes she'll pop in and play games herself just to see like what tactics are, what they're saying about it.
How the meta's shifting.
Yeah. Pretty much. So that was interesting to hear about.
That kind of makes sense to me when I see, because I've backed a number of Kickstarters before, and you see this like free print to play is so common.
Yeah.
And they're putting it out there, and you would think that seems like such a bad idea. But it's a great opportunity to have that play testing happening in a place where you can still make adjustments.
Some of the things that they were going over with that was like the people who will play test are the super fans. And they're the ones who are likely to give the most feedback and communicate the most. Whereas people, if they're going to do a print and play or do like a test run of something, if they're not as into it, they're not going to bother to get back to you.
And you
much.
want those critical people.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And usually if your super fans are a fan of one thing, but they might be a fan of your entire platform or your whole company. And that's how you can get them to branch off to other games and help like get their ideas and what they think might be improvable, things like that. And so that's why when you find, as we'll call them, super fans, it's good to keep them incorporated into your business strategy and stuff like that. That was fun. There was a lot of advice about playtesting. One of the gentlemen said to find a cohort of 3, have them test, have them give notes. And then what you do is you, if you're going to make your fixes and changes, you never go back to that group. You find a new group and present them to it. And then you do whatever fixes you have to try for that, then go to get a new group, and then they can all see the finished product. It's like The Incredibles, when Syndrome is making his giant robot monsters.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Right? And so he's going to repair the machine, fix the machine up. How can he make it better? Then go to the next person that he kills a superhero, and then go to the next one. If they beat it, he improves on it. And so you just don't go back to the first set that you play tested. That was interesting.
Do you have to kill the people that
Well,
play test your game?
Then they can't play the game. They can't buy the next one.
Well, you're not gonna have a repetition.
And one of them mentioned a nonprofit that I haven't found yet. I'm still looking for it. I might have the spelling wrong, but she mentioned PAX-es. She started a nonprofit to help women make their first games, which was neat. I want to look into that a bit more. But they were fun. There was a lot of good questions because I stayed for the whole thing. But that went pretty well. That was Thursday. I think I didn't make it into Gearbox because the line was cut off.
Yes. Yeah, Gearbox was probably the biggest deal because I think it was arguably the biggest announcement that was to be had.
They were a featured presenter too. Like they had the prime spot for
I believe it was main theater.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all that. Yeah.
And was it at noon
Like
or
at
2 o'clock?
2 p.m.
Yeah,
2
so
p.m.
it was meant to be the real kickoff.
And that was like I was watching one of the VODs from one of the Q&As that Mike and Jerry do, and I believe it was the panel before the Gearbox thing, and because the chat at the time, you can see like the historical chat like as if it were live on Twitch. And everyone was just like, when's Gearbox? When's Gearbox? Okay, enough questions. Gearbox. Like all they cared about, people were just there to see Gearbox.
Yeah.
Because
it didn't go swimmingly.
yeah, from what we understand, we did have some people in the field who didn't know they were even working for us. They weren't working for us. I'm just saying that. But we did have some friends of ours.
It's a funny phrase for friends.
The lovely Herrick's did make it into the Gearbox panel and told us all about how, they apparently they had a laptop that they were trying to use that was, I think, supplied to them to play the trailer. The trailer was in 4K. Laptop couldn't really handle 4K, so there's a lot of stops and starts. But eventually they got the trailer off and people were able to see it, and the internet subsequently exploded.
It's for Borderlands 3, by the way. I don't think we've used the words Borderlands or 3 in that order yet.
Yeah, we said Gearbox a whole lot, but to the casual listener.
Which, like, 2 days prior, they had released what was like a teaser.
A teaser. They teased the teaser that they were going to be teasing.
It looked awesome. It sounded really fun. I liked the soundtrack to it.
Yeah.
But then it didn't tell me anything.
Yeah, nothing.
It's like there's a thing.
This is where you can tell our fan differences because, like, Alex, I've seen you be a super fan about things, but you have so much hope right now, which means you're not a real fan. Like, I went into that and I'm like, they're going to turn into a battle royale game. Oh my gosh, there's so many ways that this can go wrong. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. For the it did turn out okay, and I'm really excited about it now. But it's just, you had hope. I saw that trailer. I'm like, you mother.
It might be an MMO.
I know you're going to slap me right across the face. And yeah.
I'm restraining using a specific voice because you're here, Joe. So
let's not do that.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
So, Gearbox happened. Actually, while Gearbox was happening, Bob and I, our good friend Bob, came with us the second year in a row to PAX East. I'm going to give Bob major shout-outs probably throughout the entirety of this episode because that man is not only the kindest human being, but he's also a saint. We went to the Penny Arcade Acquisitions Incorporated D&D Manual Announcement Extravaganza Panel Spectacular. I almost got it.
Was that the entire title?
I almost got it, but I botched it at the end, which featured Jerry Holkins. Apparently, I'm reading the synopsis on the website. Apparently, Jeremy Crawford was supposed to be there, but I do not recall him being there. No. Mike Rahulik and former OMV guest, Alyssa Grant.
Oh, cool.
Who is just absolutely killing it with Ack Inc. these days, and also is moderated by Kate Welch, who does the C Team. She also works with Wizards of the Coast, and it was neat. It was all about the new official Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons Acquisitions Incorporated manual, which is going to have a whole bunch of, like, it looks great. There's also going to be a DM screen that you can pre-order as well.
And it comes with a green flame pen.
It comes with green flame. It comes with a special green. If you pre-order it, we're not getting paid to do this.
No.
And we're still doing it. If you pre-order off the Penny Arcade website, it comes with a free green flame pin. That's a tough one to say. Green flame pin. It's like looks like stained glass. It's pretty dope.
Damn.
But if you get it off of Amazon, you're not going to get that pin. You got to buy it separately.
Right.
Anyways, we went to they announced the book and all that. They showed a couple like neat little trailers, and then Kate asked a couple questions on how it was made and the genesis. Like Alyssa showed like some of her spreadsheets that she put together.
Yeah.
Like one of the spreadsheets she showed was just for the artists because there's a lot of art in the book, obviously. Very art heavy game. Requires a lot of imagination and so on and so forth. And one of the spreadsheets she showed was just a list of the artists and like what they were doing.
Their descriptions.
And it was like just scrolling down. It was like it was bigger than any spreadsheet I've ever seen in my life combined. And that was just one thing.
All the people that play in Ack Inc. got to do their own like character quotes.
Oh, nice.
And like something they would say in character in a game at some point.
What ho?
Exactly.
Or like sum up like who they are, what they did within the business of what Acquisitions Incorporated is.
So is the purpose of the book to be able to run a Ack Inc. like campaign?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
You can like set up your own franchise because that's the way they word it. Like with the C Team and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it comes with pre-made like campaigns, like a 1 through 5.
Yep.
Or something like that, if I recall correctly.
So you could run a campaign levels 1 through 5.
Nice.
And they also introduced a new race that you could play as.
The Documancer?
No, those are
Class?
Yes.
Yep.
There was like a goblin.
Yeah.
Like a goblin type race that you could be now.
Well, this is the Scotch Goblin.
Right.
Oh
And
she was on episode 280, by the way.
280.
Our own 280.
Almost 100 episodes ago.
Just one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
No, that was really cool having her.
She was one of the coolest people. I'm a little biased, but she was super rad.
Where she commonly stated as a little girl, she would walk through the forest with a twig, like pretending it was a sword. How many girls did that?
Yep. How many people do that? I think everyone needs to do that.
I bet plenty of them did. How many of them turned it into a career?
Yeah. Yep. There it is.
Yeah.
And then I'm over here going, What is WotC? Is that a rapper? I don't.
It is a rapper, just spelled differently.
That's really good.
It was a neat panel to see that, get that sneak peek. Being a I don't want to say super fan. I don't think I'm at that level, but I really enjoy Acquisitions Incorporated, and I enjoy D&D. So I might have to take a look at that book. I've been getting that DM itch again.
Would you want to run a franchise?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if it gives like pre-made stuff, like, because I'm not very creative, I used all my creativity in the one shot that I did with you guys, and then it's all gone. That was my one thing.
To be fair, that did have both dungeons
and dragons in it. Yeah,
so.
3 of them,
and a couple puzzles.
It had a puzzle, and it had an ice
music
giant
puzzle. That was an amazing puzzle.
It did have a music puzzle. Yeah. I was pretty proud of that one.
A real muscle.
So I did check that one out. The attendance wise, if I counted correctly, which I guarantee you I did not. I mean, it was in the Albatross Theater, which is one of their bigger ones. Pretty much not a packed house, but like probably about 400 people. Just to see the announcement of a D&D book, which makes me happy.
I only got about 120 out of the Promote Your Indie Games. Yeah.
I went to on Friday, because these were both panels on Thursday. I don't believe we went to anything else on Thursday.
No.
I did not, as far as panels go. On Friday, I did go to one that actually Alex turned me on to, which was very apt, and was also expanded my horizons. There was a panel called An Introvert's Guide to Networking, which I mentioned it before, like at PAX Unplugged. My first year, I knew it was going to be tough because I just went with my wife, and I rely on you guys a lot of the time at conventions to be my buffer and introduce me to things so I can take a seat and play a game.
It's not a complaint, but there's times where I'm talking to someone and I'm explaining us, and I go, yeah, it's me and my...
And I'm away. Yeah. Yep.
My co-host is
taking pictures of stuff. I made an active attempt this year at PAX to not do that. I forced myself to stay with you. Did like 2 times we were talking to someone.
We're not at the game portion yet, but I was there with you during one of them, and you engaged with one of the folks really well. So yeah,
I don't remember which one.
Yacht Club.
Oh yeah.
You ran that show.
We'll get to that in a little bit. But I did go to the panel with the Introvert's Guide to Networking that featured Victoria Tran from Kitfox Games, Chris Wolf from Tag Publishing, Anya Combs from she's the Senior Games Outreach at Kickstarter, and Nick Verge from Pop Agenda. It was an informative panel in the Cuttlefish Theater. First time in the Cuttlefish represent. Never been in that theater before. One of the smaller panel rooms, a couple hundred people in there. They was full. Like they even said when the panel started, they're like, we were legitimately expecting 15 people. So like when they saw that the room was full, they're like, this is going to be interesting. But they talked about what it's like to be in their positions, because a lot of their positions required networking, especially being like community developer, games outreach. One of them was a co-founder, which requires a lot of networking. And if you're an introvert, networking can be a difficult thing to accomplish. So they're talking about their experiences and things like that. They gave a couple pointers. I had to leave during the Q&A, but they talked about things like, when's a good time to give out your business card? Maybe not make it so obvious sometimes. Like if I'm in the middle of setting up a rig for a show, if we're building our booth and you come up and shove your business card in my face, I'm not going to really want it. But if we've already established a rapport and we've been chatting for a little bit, like, oh, hey, by the way, here's my card. So it was neat. It was informative. It featured a lot of people who I've never seen before. So it was in these kind of positions. Like I didn't know that there's something called Senior Games Outreach at Kickstarter.
Is it a panel that could be improved? Because there's some panels where it sounds like it's very instruction-y or educational, but then it's just, I'm going to give you how I do this.
Yeah,
it's but how can I want to know how I can do it?
It was a little bit of that in terms, because being titled, An Introvert's Guide to Networking, it was mostly a guide to networking. I think it could have used more on the introvert side. I have trouble, like I was saying, I when Alex would talk to developers, I get bashful and shy and whatever adjective you want to call it, and I walk away. I go take pictures of stuff, And because like I have a hard time promoting our brand because it's just some stupid podcast. It's whatever. Don't even think about it. Don't just let me look at your game. So like some advice on like overcoming mental obstacles like that would have been cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they covered a little in the Q&A that I did see. I think some people were asking specific questions like that,
Mm-hmm.
but the line was like 50 people deep, and there was like 7 minutes left of the panel time. So I was like, they're not gonna get.
Apparently, none of those
this.
50 people were introverts then.
Yeah, but yeah.
I think so. In my career, I do networking
Mhm.
like trainings and how to teach people how to network and things like that. But I've never really thought about. I am an introvert, and it is. I don't actually think about how to teach that part of it.
Right.
And like I have so many like introductory lines and how you break the ice and whatever. But like it really is like overcoming that block is really hard.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what advice to give somebody for that.
I had to say out like not out loud, but in my head to myself when you were talking, and we're gonna get to this probably later. You were talking with Dead by Daylight developer who was on our show,
Dave Richard.
Dave Richard.
That was $2.95.
Got that queued right up, right up. $2.95, Dave Richard. You were chatting with him, and I remember walking west, taking some pictures, and like in my head, I was like, Jeremy, fucking go back. And it ended up working out in my favor because he was a very cool guy, and he gave us we got to it was during the media hour on Thursday, so we got to play the game with a couple of the we'll get to that. But it was one of those things like I got to work on that. So I figured this panel was neat. And like I said, pretty packed house, which is always nice to see, especially when they're not expecting it. I like to see panels.
Maybe if they'd stress like a social media aspect. If you're not good in person, then be good online.
Right. And I mean, they had an hour, so they also had Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot to pack into.
Yeah.
And there were 4 panelists, so each one of them getting their own thing. Like I can see where it's a tough thing to get all out, but I think I could have used a little bit more on the actual like introvert side of it as opposed to just straight up networking. Not that I'm good at either of them, but anyways, so Friday, did you go on any other panels on Friday?
How publishers find there's a thing in my way.
We went to the real good ones.
How publishers find, mentor, and promote indie games. These were Ian Howe from Skybound, Trent Oster from Beamdog, Richard Brown from Digital Extremes, and Christopher Dring from GameIndustry.biz. That was neat because they were all like guys that run some of the real big studios, and it's their job to find new games for their studios to produce, publish, put out there. I got there kind of late, so I got there like just as the Q&A was starting.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the thing is you kind of have to already have a game that's been good or relatively successful. It's like when we talk to a lot of comic people, it's like you should have already printed something. You need to have something physical or have something like running online.
Your sequentials.
No one's going to look like your one page and then be like, yeah, you're hired. Draw Spider-Man. It took Ryan Otley, 12 years of Invincible?
A lot of it, like, and that's just I mean, even then he's still great at Invincible, but like you see Todd McFarlane always posts the hundreds of rejection letters that he got.
Yeah.
And now look at him.
Mm-hmm. So you need to already have something in order to pitch either that or something else. Like you have to be on the radar. One of the things that was kind of helpful, or like at least gave hope, was as they're all kind of agreeing, they're like, if you're on one of our radars, you're on all of our radars. If I want to publish your game, I'm probably not the only one, and we're probably going to fight over you somehow. And he's like, so usually, like, go ahead and tell us who else you're shopping around to, because we might already know it. So that was interesting.
You hear that in a lot of publishing, like
really?
That's in book publishing, where if you have one agent who shows interest, that is what it takes to have other people show you interest, and that's literally it. So, yeah.
And like up to that point, I'm not sure like exactly what all the steps would take, but like a good pitch should cost you like around $30,000.
Whoa.
Between like having something developed, having something playable, and then printing up whatever materials you need to bring to the board. It's like showing up with a binder full of glossy 8x10 photos isn't quite going to cut it. You're going to need some more than that.
They better be real good 8x10s.
And know your audience. When you go to them, you have to know you're going to pitch like who your audience is. Like you should already have that. Like they should have to figure it out. You need to be able to tell them that. and the publisher wants to spend as little as possible making your game. Because
It's so basic, but I never think about that.
yeah. So like one of the guys who was getting shopped around, he's like, "How much do you want to spend on my game?" And the guy's like, "As little as possible." And he's like, "What? You should want to spend millions of dollars promoting it." And he's like, "When we start making money, I'm getting paid first. You're getting paid what's left over. So if I spend as little money as possible, you're going to get a bigger check. This is how business works." And he's like, "Oh, okay."
I really like that. Like, it's a cold conversation, but it is truly how business works. Like,
yeah.
and it's not evil. It's not mean. It's,
Right.
Yeah.
It's really honest.
Right.
It's like you might have your eyes set on the stars, but like you got to get a little realistic. They're all going to wish the best for each other. What else was there?
How was attendance?
Pretty good. Like the first two sections
What
were
theater was
packed.
that?
I think it was a Condor.
Okay.
To be honest, it was definitely one of the upstairs bigger ones.
Right.
And then one of the questions was asking what they've seen, not from developers, but from publishers. That was like, that was a terrible idea. Oh my God, how did you do that? But also, that was amazing. And I'm really jealous of that. And they didn't have any examples, but they're like, we see this every day, all the time. It's something's amazing or something's terrible. Like everyone makes really great choices and we're jealous, or there's terrible mistakes and we go, how are they still in business? So it's not like it's a strange thing for either of these to happen. And on that note, I didn't know which one it was, but one guy had said he was in Warsaw at a developer building, reviewing a couple games. And there was like one doorway with just like a piece of paper, like taped to the door. And he was like, "I'm not going in there. This is unprofessional." And he's about to skip it. Well, he did skip it. Witcher 1.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah.
And he, like at that point, he had like head in his hands. He really regretted that choice.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Sometimes we miss."
And to be fair, Witcher 1 was garbage.
Witcher 3, though,
Witcher 3.
from what my friend says, is like the greatest game of all
Very
time.
difficult.
when you can make a game out of the game that appears in a game,
Yeah.
you're doing okay.
Oh
Right?
gosh. What's that?
Gwent?
Gwent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't begin with the G. I had like Galt in my head.
And later on that day after that was the Omegathon that we managed to get to.
I actually showed up late because I didn't even realize the Omegathon was happening at that point. And you were like, "Oh, I'm at Omegathon." I was like, "What?"
That was 4:30. So like they cut like half the contestants per day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, what was it? There was like 32 Friday. No,
East
Thursday.
is where they have teams, so there's more Omeganauts than normal.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't remember how many teams start out. Is it 16? Sounds right.
Each team was named after a game console.
Okay.
So there was the N64, there was the Neo Geo, and they went all through. There was the Ultra Swan, Super Swan. It was like
Wonder Swan?
Yes, that. They had that even. Except for Team Brian. There was just two guys named Brian.
There's two guys named Brian, and do you know Team Brian? They won it.
Did they? Wow.
They I watched the final on Sunday night, and the final was NBA Jam.
Okay.
And
Not tournament edition?
Just NBA. I don't know if it was tournament edition.
No.
But it was Team Brian against the runners-up from last year. So, because when you're the runner-up, you get to go back.
Yeah.
You get your automatic entry to be an Omegonaut next year. So it's Team Brian against the runners-up from last year, and Team Brian, one of the Bryans, he carried. So it was unbelievable. Like they were close games for the most part. They played. It was best out of 3, and Team Brian just won the first 2. And I'm not trying to knock, but one of the guys on Team Brian, I believe both games had 0 points.
Wow.
It was just pass the ball to this guy, let him dunk it.
So you made it was exactly like being on the Bulls when
yeah,
NBA
Horace
Jam
Grant
came
gives
out.
it to Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, Pippen, pass it over to Jordan.
Well, Jordan wasn't in NBA Jam famously because I believe that was when he
Baseball season
went to baseball or he didn't rights or something. So
I always
on the
played
Bulls,
as Bill Clinton anyway.
Exactly. I did the code so I could play as the Charlotte Hornet and do full court dunks. But it was really funny also to hear, because Mike and Jerry do the commentary for the Omegathon. So to hear them try to do sports commentary was a treasure. It was pretty great.
What was the game that was being played when you guys caught it?
That was Cinco Linko.
It was a tabletop game.
Oh.
Yep.
It wasn't a video game.
I know that name, but I don't think I've ever seen that game played before.
You get like a stack of squares. They're plastic. They clink together, make a lot of sound. And you lay them flat on a tabletop. and they have to all like connect edge to edge.
Mm-hmm.
They can't be like corners, and you just kind of build them around, and you want to get 5 in a row, cinco, and that's connect, linko.
And they can be diagonal.
Yep.
But you can't set a diagonal like on a diagonal without another piece. Yeah.
It has to be with the flat surface connecting.
Kind of like how Connect 4 works, where you wouldn't be able to put a diagonal piece unless something was
Right.
right.
Drop
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
Pretty much, both flat tabletop. And then once all your loose pieces are gone, because on the table, you get to start moving ones that are on the table. So pick one up and put it in a new place.
Mm-hmm.
So during the first match, they were taking way too long. And do you remember who was moderating that? He's one of the staff.
Yeah, he's the main Child's Play guy. He's anytime I've been to the Omegathon, which is like 4 or 5 times now, he's been, I think he hosts all of it. He hosts the final too. Like he doesn't do the commentary, but he's always there. He's the guy he knows all the rules of the game because they play test
And
it.
actually knows how to play the game.
Yep. And I cannot remember his name. I'm a piece of shit. But he, I believe, is their main Child's Play charity guy. He does pretty much any and all things Child's Play for Penny Arcade.
So with, he's like, this game goes a lot faster when it's not for money or something really important. Because as they would play test, it's like, less than 10 minutes or so and they're done. But like the first group was taking their time.
Well, there's got to be ways that you're blocking people and all that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yep.
So
Lot
with
of
4
strategy.
people, it's teams of 2.
Mm-hmm.
And you could run where one tries to score and the other tries to block. So one person is only there to try and block the other team and just try and like make, blocks for your teammate to score and whatnot. Looks like that game retails for either $15 or $9, but depending on where it's on sale.
I paid $15 for that game.
Comes with a little carabiner. You can like clip it to your book bag. Just carry it.
Bananagram style.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Could
It
go
was
wherever.
it was a neat. There was some controversy.
Once they set the timer.
He downloaded a chess timer on his phone, like an app,
Oh, so you could like
so that you could tap,
Right,
and
yeah,
they gave him
yeah.
5 minutes aside. So, which was pretty brilliant. I mean, honestly, the game should come with that. And it was a interesting game, though. It was kind of a low energy Omegathon. I've been to both high energy, low energy. Last year's Omegathon that I went to with Ken with I can't remember what it was called, but it was the lawn mowing game.
Yeah.
It had
Oh,
no
God,
business
yeah.
being as hype as it was, but like we were screaming. Whereas this one is more like there's not a lot of hype until like someone actually makes the 5 in a row.
Be quiet. It's like playing chess.
Yeah.
There was like
Yep.
a single top-down camera on the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that was fun. I like checking out the Omegathon. I think it's pretty underrated. At least I personally was. I ignored it the first couple years we went. It's just like it's whatever. I can watch the final.
I'm still ignoring it.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
and I feel bad because when you guys talk about it, I'm like, shit.
It's, for one thing, you go, well, it's people just playing a game. It's people playing a series of wacky games for Australia.
Yeah. Yeah, because the big joke, the winner, you get to go to any PAX you want. So whenever they're doing the final, they always relay it as you get to go to any PAX Australia that you want. Because everyone picks PAX Australia.
Except
because-
for Australia, which is like,
Yeah.
I really want to see Texas.
when we went to when I dragged my new extended family to the Omegathon at South, they were playing this. I don't know what it was called. I should have written it down. It was like a multiplayer game where each person was like a piece of like food, like a sushi or something like that, and like you had like boomerangs. I think it was in the name somewhere. I'm probably driving someone insane right now who knows the name of it. But like you were like ninjas, and like the game was silent except for like your walking around sound and like the sound of you like attacking people. And like one hit was like an auto kill. Like you could throw the boomerang and like it would like wrap around and like cut someone's head off. And the sounds were real crisp, and it was just like the whole room is silent while these people are like walking around trying to find each other. And then like when the action starts happening, everyone just immediately starts screaming. And it's the most hype thing. And I love it. I love that kind of stuff. But the Omegathon's right. They actually had a room this year devoted to the Omegathon finals of years past, which is right next to the Kickstarter lounge. And they had like, oh, hey, here's the giant Jenga game that they played at PAX West this year. I can't remember which one it was. Here's a GoldenEye setup, which they played at East a couple years ago. And like each banner had a description saying like who won and all that stuff. And also the format of the banner, like the print on it, was accurate to the year that the design was.
Damn.
Like, this year was the melty cheese logo, and last year was like the glitch. Remember that fun what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. The design. It was like the glitch design, and like it had like each design on it, which I thought was neat. It was like they're staying true to each year.
Some history.
I would have liked to see a little bit more in that room, but honestly, I think they've auctioned off a lot of their final stuff. Like the claw machine was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the giant claw machine from a couple years ago, I know was auctioned off at Child's Play, I think 2 years ago, last year. But that was a cool room. Last panel that I went to Acquisitions Incorporated. First time in a couple years that we were able to make it there to see the actual show, which was great. It was. It also meant for a late day, because usually on the second day. We deviated this year. We went Thursday, Friday instead of Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, which we did.
We almost did that intentionally to catch Acquisitions Incorporated between our days. Yeah, they got us.
Last year, Ac Inc. was on Thursday night, so I was like, maybe we'll do it again. Nope, Friday. So we had a couple of us stayed a little bit later than we normally would, so we could catch Ac Inc. And me, Bob, and Alex stayed and caught the show. And it was a lot of fun. Like, I don't want to get too far into it, but it was just rad. It was cool to see. It was Rothfuss, Mike and Jerry, Morgan Webb, and Xavier Woods, who's a professional wrestler. He joined them last PAX at South for the first time. He's playing a Colossus Barbarian, I believe, or something like that. Goliath Barbarian, named Bobby Zamaruski, who has an obsession with cheese. And it's Jeremy Crawford's the new DM. He was his third time, I believe, as DM for them. And he does great. Perkins is sorely missed, but I believe Crawford is filling his shoes very well. It was a lot of fun. It was a neat game. The only shocking part that happened was actually outside of game was when it was crazy because Bob and I were second row. The row in front of us started, it's hard to explain, but essentially there was no one in front of us, but we were the second row, the way the stage is mapped out and all that stuff. Man sitting kind of in front of me to my left, he was a sleepy boy. Maybe a half hour in, he's passed out. He's zonked in his chair. And at one point I saw him shift and I was like, he's going to fall. He's coming out of that chair. He's absolutely going to come out of that chair. And then about 10 minutes later, he came tumbling. And I will say it's shocking when you hear a body hit the ground unencumbered. And then when that person doesn't move, and it's like, oh my God, someone just died at my feet. But Bob and I, and then the guy to my right, we were all immediately hey man, are you okay? Please, are you okay? And then he woke up. Not sure if he just passed out or if he was just a real sleepy boy because it was pretty late at night. Whole day of PAXing, second day of PAX, lot to do. I get it. It's a dark theater. It's nice and cozy in there. And
I took a Widow map.
I hopped up because he said he was fine, but he was sitting on the floor still. Yeah. Hopped up, got an enforcer. Shout outs to the enforcers. Always super rad people. Found the first one that I saw and I was like, hey man, someone just passed out and fell on the floor. And he came right over, pointed him out.
On the face?
Yep, on his face. They chatted for a bit. Enforcer left. A couple minutes later, Enforcer comes back. Hey, man, we just want to talk to you. And they bring the guy away. Bob ended up seeing him after the show as well, being like, hey, man, you good? It was a little scary. But I think it's, get your sleep. If you need sleep, go get your sleep, man. Go get your sleep. I don't want to see, I don't want people getting hurt. And also, shout outs to the enforcers. He was right on it. I wish I got his name, but if you were on the left hand side of the main theater during Ac Inc., shout outs. You were a good guy.
If you're gonna face plant, do it in the back row when no one will see you.
Oh exactly. Man,
right?
It was
way less embarrassing.
But other than that, the show was great. I was captivated the entire time because they
ended on a cliffhanger.
Ended on a real heavy cliffhanger too. Possible betrayal. Who knows what's happening here? Xavier Woods is funny as hell. He needs a little help with the math sometimes.
Oh man, I didn't know if that was funny or kind of sad.
He even said, he's like, I did indies for a long time.
He's like, I'm a wrestler. I get hit in the head a lot, so I can't add very well.
Oh, please.
Is that 24?
Mike had that problem and he didn't wrestle. Sorry, Mike.
But it was a really fun event because, watching, and it's such a phenomenon. Who knew watching 5 people pretend to be other people with no like, and like at East they don't really do too much like set pieces or anything like, you know, like as far as like, oh hey, there's a giant amazing creation in front of us on the table. It's mostly for West. So you're imagining it in your head with them while they're imagining it in their head, and it's still like it was great. I was captivated the entire time. It's a 2.5 hour show. That's it. You could drive to and from Boston like twice. From where, not twice, but like once.
You're cutting me personal right there, because that is literally what I did though.
Yeah. Yep. And it was rad. Also getting to see that with Bob, because I had no idea Bob was such a fan of like all the D&D shows like Waffle Crew and Ack Inc. and all that stuff. So it was a treat to be able to experience that, you know, with my friends, and also to see, I got to see Xavier Woods role play Bobby Zimmerowski, who's obsessed with cheese, you know, and also with Morgan Webb and Pat Rothfuss and all the other people that I really admire. So it was a good time. Ack Inc. highly recommend. Would 10 out of 10 would Ack Inc. again. As far as crowd, it was pretty full.
Oh yeah.
Big old main theater, probably a couple thou. I don't even know how many seats that thing has, but
I didn't do a full count.
There was a lot of people there, and you can go see the VOD, and you can actually see this gorgeous mug on the VOD if you're paying close enough attention. Those are the panels that we went to. Thank you for sticking around for 42 minutes while we talked about panels and stuff. They're highly recommended. I neglected them for too long at PAX. It took us a couple years to actually start going to panels consistently, and I'm glad we started doing it. Let's talk about games, because there are much talks to be had. I haven't heard Joe talk. I want Joe to start talking. Because there are many games at PAX, which is one of those things that kills me when people, oh, PAX is boring. What were you doing?
Yeah, I walked out of PAX on Friday. We left mid to late-ish day. I think we left around like 3 or 4 p.m. And as I was walking out, I was finding a bunch of new stuff, and I was so mad. I'm like, how did I not go down this one aisle? So yeah, there's a lot.
Before you got here, Jay was looking at the map and he goes, oh, I didn't do any of this wall.
No.
Or any of this wall.
I missed an entire section of the floor that I would have really liked to have seen. And it's not even like it was in an obscure spot. It was right there. And I just missed it.
It's also where the most traffic is.
That too. But games, I don't even want to go from like day by day, just games that we played, man.
I will like bounce around and then like do 1-1-1, or how do you want to?
I'm going to start right off. Alex and I got to take advantage of the press hour on Thursday. First time in a couple years, because last year we missed it because we didn't go on Thursday. Which led, I got to play Crash Team Racing. They're making a new one.
There was a big debate of like, do we take pictures? Do we actually play things while we can get to them?
Right. Do we chat with developers?
Do it try your card?
And then I saw.
I was like, Jared, play this.
Haven't done introvert talk yet. Your card.
So we saw Crash Team Racing was open. Guy was like, hey, you want to play? We got a couple spots open. I was like, I'm not going to be able to play it for the rest of the weekend, so why not?
And then I watched, because it's a not Mario Kart game, and I'm terrible at that.
Yep.
So I'm not going to bother.
I never played Crash Team Racing back in the day.
That was already a thing at one time?
Crash Team yeah.
Okay.
Yep, for the PlayStation
1?
Shows how much I know.
I believe so.
I mean, it was happening. There was Diddy Kong Racing. There was Mario Kart got popular, and then everybody made one. There are 2 different Sonic Drift racing games that only I know about. Sonic Racing. Guys, he can run fast. He's in a car.
He needs a car?
He's in a car. That's just, and you know what? I owned both of them.
CTR was interesting. It wasn't my cup of tea. I tried to play it as if I were playing Mario Kart, which led to me hitting a lot of walls, trying to drift it and all that stuff. And the items I found, like some of them, like, oh, I got hit by this item, but my character has to flail and bounce around until he comes to a complete stop. Then I can start going again.
That game needs Lakitus.
Right? Yeah. And I did not do well. It was kind of embarrassing because I had Alex right over my shoulder watching me. We got 2 races. I got like 6th and 5th. It was not great. But
you can watch some of this on the Instagram page.
There is video of me.
I posted it.
Yep, you can see me rocking that fat 6th. I believe during
7th for part of it too.
Shut up.
He got better.
Out of 8.
God. But it was neat to be able to experience that. It's one of the things that, because like I said, the lines explode, especially on Friday. I had to take advantage of it while I could, even though it's not necessarily a game that I would really dive at.
Like I mentioned earlier, we got to Dead by Daylight, which is one of my favorite games. I own that one myself, and I've bought a lot of the DLCs to get more killers and survivors. We chatted with Dave Richard from episode 295, and they have a new survivor, which just came out yesterday.
But we got to play it ahead of time.
Or early this week, depending on when this episode gets posted. And it's just the survivor. Usually it's like a killer survivor get released together, and that comes along with another map as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they have Ash from Evil Dead, and starts off with his classic Evil Dead skin. You can get his
S-Mart shirt,
the S-Mart uniform, and then like a flower print with a puppet, which is from the new TV series. Yeah. But those are like extra buys. And then his completely bloody outfit is his prestige version, which all the characters have. Once you prestige, your new skin is like just covered in blood.
Of course. Of course.
That's how it is. And he has voice lines too, which none of the characters like actually speak. You'll hear them grunt, whine, scream.
Did we confirm if it is Bruce?
It is.
It is Bruce?
Yeah.
What the?
Yeah, I checked into that later.
Come on, you knucklehead.
Oh, we got him.
You primitive screwhead. Yeah, that was fun. We got to try it out. And we played around. I've already played a lot. Jared did some in the past.
I haven't played in a long time. And we were also playing on PC.
I knew the map, and I didn't know the button layouts anymore.
Yeah.
Because I play with a controller.
There's a lot of how do I crouch? Because it was Alex and me with
2 other people that were manning the booth, either employees or devs or somehow. And then also the killer was by a person who was at the booth.
Who Alex pointed out.
They took it easy on us.
They were going soft.
Well, yeah, like that's not fun.
Meanwhile, like as you're setting up, you're choosing your character. Like I'm tricking us out with the best shit to put on us. Like for my first round, I didn't get to choose if I got a toolkit or what my perks would be. It's like you just go out there and try and survive.
Yep.
You didn't get any perks. I'm like, pick the one with 3 slots. Get a purple one. That's the best.
Yeah, I got wrecked pretty early on. I was the first one out of all 4 of us, and then Alex was the sole survivor at the end, and he did escape. So technically, we won.
Hell yeah, Alex!
Even if I did nothing, I repaired one thing for like 30 seconds, and that was about it. And then I got barfed on.
Yeah.
By the
new killer. She was released like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, so you released a killer 2 weeks ago, which came with a map and another survivor. And like now there's another survivor with Ash. It's like you got anything left? Like you pushing more out? And then I was like, how about a werewolf? And he's like, I can't say.
Jeez, that's awesome.
Man.
I mean, they've been putting this game out. We've been seeing it at PAX's for at least 3, maybe 4 years now. Like that is content heavy.
And now the thing is like they're cashing in on the skins, on the outfits. And
hey, good for them.
Yeah,
that's if they can. And I mean, they're putting it back into the game clearly too. That's a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah.
Hey,
hit us with something, Joe.
So I took this. Actually, no, we've been talking video games, so I want to keep going video game. I played a lot of different games, things that were interesting, but I did want to highlight because we did talk about it a little bit that Borderlands 3 was announced and it's coming out September 13th. So I got super mad at the teaser trailer, but then I got really excited by the new teaser trailer. They're releasing information. They have who all 4 of the Vault Hunters are posted out. I didn't go to the talk specifically, but got a chance to chat with some people who did go to it. Check out the trailer. It looks like a real Borderlands. They're doing really smart, funny with it instead of I know people rave about Borderlands 2. I still not my favorite of the series. It has good and bad about it all throughout. I feel like they're finding the best parts of the series and bringing it through. So if you haven't checked it out yet, it's great. They just released the box art recently. And this is the thing, as weird as it sounds, not the trailers or anything, that reassured me that the game's going to be okay. So if you've seen the first Borderlands, it's got a psycho on the front and he's pointing 2 fingers at his head like it's a gun. Cover Borderlands 2. He's got 2 hands pointed at his forehead, right?
Right.
So everyone's talking about what are they going to do for 3, right? And instead, what's the obvious joke? You just have a severed
third
hand.
yeah.
You have a severed hand like flying through or something like that. Instead, he looks like a Buddhist monk almost, and he's just holding up the number 3 like it's a peace sign. And then there's flowers all around him, but if you look at the flowers, they're the heads of all the different characters that are in the game.
Huh.
And then the aura around him, like the glowing aura, is just golden guns pointing in a bunch of different directions. And I'm like, oh, they didn't do the easy joke. They did something that was more advanced.
They tried something new.
Yeah. And they're not going like a bazillion guns instead. They're just like, no, there's a whole lot of them. It looks like they're adding a lot of characters. There's stuff that hints that they're going to be making references from Tales of the Borderlands, which I think the room is excited about that fact.
Yep. That's most of my Borderlands experience.
So I did want to throw out that we've got that going, and I am officially excited. I think they announced it's September 13th. If you guys don't have any plans, let's take the day off of work and play some Borderlands.
Was that an evil siren in there? Is that what she's called? Siren?
Oh, no. She's a good guy.
Is she?
Yeah.
I thought I saw one that looked like she was bad.
I mean, maybe there is going to be a bad siren, but the only time you see someone use siren powers is they have 6 arms come out of them, and that's one of the playable characters. Man, I love this game so much. I'm so excited. They also, if it's not already out, it's coming out soon. They're doing a remaster, which I was disappointed by because we already have a remaster, but it's of the first game. There are a lot of criticisms of that first game. It is, to this day, still one of my favorite PlayStation 3 experiences. So if you haven't had a chance to play it, the remaster fixes a lot of the broken parts about that game, and it might be worth dipping into. No real storyline to speak of, but great gameplay. So
that's one of the games that I own because we did that one night where we randomly all showed up in my old apartment and we played Borderlands for like 5 hours. I still haven't touched it because it's like, oh no, I have to finish that. I got to finish that with the guys.
Yeah. No, that was a good night. And then I was like trying to tell you guys, like, no, listen, really funny stuff's happening. You're already running around and shooting stuff. That was a good night. So yeah, Borderlands 3, really exciting news.
That's like the big one, the big one from the convention. What about anything that you played worth noting? Yeah, you got one for us?
Oh, gosh. I played a lot of board games. So Kevin, who joined us last year, came in during this one, and he's a huge board game dude. And it's fun walking around with somebody else who wants to do board games, because if there's a video game to play, you can grab a controller for the most part and play it. But board games, either you got to find a stranger or you got to have a buddy.
And a lot of times you got to commit.
You got to find a time to commit and put some time in. And sometimes it hurts you. Sometimes you get them sticking around for a game that you didn't necessarily want to.
In that vein, is it impolite to check in with whoever's running the game or like doing the demo and be like, how long? How time?
I don't think so.
Demo play time? How time?
Well, you will find. So I walked in and actually, so I'll throw this out as a game. I have a lot of board games to throw out, but this is one that I'll mention shortly. Is I caught Kevin playing a round of Spirit Island, which is a game that I've wanted to pick up countless times. It is usually rated as like one of the top board games around, and I showed up, got to do some of the demo. It looked like so much fun. We had a blast playing it, and then the guy drops the time play for me. 2 hours to play that game, and that's when you're good at it.
That's when you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and it, like, you just say something like that to me and it knocks me out of my chair. It's something that's really hard to
Where was
swallow.
that one? Was that like...
It was smack dab in the middle. It was in one of the open play areas. Do you remember where they had like a Japanese anime themed board game section?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, for anyone who was there, a little to the left of that guy. And that was good. I don't think I can get you any closer than that. It was pretty close to another game that we played that was called Bridge Crew. What was it called?
Over there.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't there for that one.
No.
Bridge Command.
Bridge Command. That's what it was called. Yeah. But yeah, we played Bridge Command too.
I'm confirming to make sure. Yeah, Bridge Command Interactive 3D Ship Radar.
I'm going to throw in the word Star Trek because it is a distinctly Star Trek themed game.
It was, I believe that's what it was. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't.
We kept on calling it Bridge Command.
Were you on a bridge? Were you commanding?
We were on the bridge of a starship. Very reminiscent of Star Trek.
It's the OG, the 60s one.
It's the first time I've ever done.
Did it have the background noises of the beeps and the whirs?
There were beeps and whirs.
Yeah, I believe there were beeps.
I was the captain and was wearing a yellow shirt. Like, it was great.
Because the ambient sounds in the OG Star Trek were some of my favorite.
It was
things.
really, the technology was better, but it was a lot of the classic beep and the worst.
Good. That's important. That's very important to me.
So this is one that we did. It was
If I could have that in my real life, to be honest, I'm sorry.
just run around like boop, boop, breet. So it was JR, myself, and then we had Colin and Bob as well that were rounding out our crew. And this was my only VR experience for the weekend. Did you do other VR stuff, JR?
No, that is the first and only time that I have ever done VR.
What'd you think of the game?
I loved it. It was apparently it's called Star Trek Bridge Crew, I think.
Oh, so it was Bridge Crew, and I just made that up.
It looks like the same thing.
Crew and Conquer.
Yeah, it looks like the same thing. Anyway,
so they were running two games. One of them was a very distinct, like, Mech Warrior-esque game, which did look like a lot of fun. But we had a group of 4 people together. You needed 4 people to play the Star Trek game, so we decided to do that.
It was, again, the first time I've only the first time I've ever done VR. Colin's done it a couple times in the past, but it's the lines and all that stuff, and I also have glasses, but it is what it is. We were pumped to find out that it was a group thing. And it was a sitting down thing, so I didn't need to walk around and fall over myself, look like an idiot. But essentially, one of us each takes on a role. So Joe was the captain, I was the helm, Bob was, I can never remember what he was.
Tactical?
He's yelling it right now in his car.
Tactical?
Bob was tactical, and Colin was the engineer. And each of us had to do things, like no one person could do everything.
Like, I had basically all the information as the captain and no ability to change anything.
Joe would get orders from Star Command. He would relay them to us, and then we had to interpret them like, oh, hey, we have to go here. Okay, cool. How do I move ship? So I have helm, and like, you know, it was a little tough because it's like, okay, there's a lever here. Doing the lever does nothing. And then like I figured out how to raise the speed. That's cool. I can go forward in a very fast. It goes up to 5,000. I don't know what 5,000 is.
You almost drove us straight into the space.
I almost drove straight into the space because I'm sitting here thinking like, how do I steer? And I hear one guy like outside. He's like, hey, use the wheel. And I'm like, I'm looking at a flat screen, son. There is no wheel but there's a circle on the screen. When you grab it, you can like move it anywhere in that 360-degree circle, or actually like 180. Because it was a one plane circle, 2D. But wherever you move the circle, if you move the circle up, then you go down. It was weird. Eventually, I figured it out. Is it
like when you're at like the buck hunting games, but you also have like the golf ones where you can like spin
the roller?
It's hard to explain. I'd have to like draw it or show you a video of it. But eventually, I figured it out. I figured it out. I got it. But then at one point later on in the game, after we did a couple things. Like I'm, oh, hey, we have to go here. Okay, cool. I'm putting up the speed. Wait, my speed only goes up to 2,000 now. What's happening? And like I enunciate this, and Colin's like, oh, hey, sorry, I had to divert some power from the engines to the shields because we needed shields. And I'm like, well, can you give me some back, dude? And he's like, yeah. And then like my speed can go up to 3,000 because we don't want to take away all from shields because we don't know what's going on. I'm driving us into asteroids, and. It was really immersive and neat. And
Joe, do you tell him to divert power?
Oh yeah, no, and it was great because it would be one of those where you would say like, "I need more power," and I'd be like, "Hey, Colin, you can take some of that away from shields."
Yeah,
like it was nice.
It was so cool.
Of the people in my crew, though, Bob was carrying the team, if for no other reason than he called me sir every time he would say something to me.
He's magical like that.
And it meant so much. Like, he gave me my authority on that ship. It was amazing.
It was
so cool.
Unbelievably fun.
And they took us away right before we were about to blow up a ship. It was like so good.
Right when we got it. We got it. Everyone was starting to like click. We know what we're doing. I know how to fly the damn ship. I took us into warp once.
Yeah. Dead serious, those first 5 minutes were just like
chaos.
I set red alert off like 3 times. And then everyone kept freaking out. And I'm like, guys, that was me. That was me. My bad.
We finally
if you got back into it, would you want to take the same roles or switch up?
I really enjoyed Helm.
I like
to be
being
honest.
captain.
TBH.
Yeah.
But
and a part of it is I feel like we were starting to click, like you
the
were
chance
saying,
to be good at it.
Yeah.
Exactly, because we found a ship. And we rescued all their people. Like Bob was saying, like was it Bob or Colin? I think it was Bob
That was saying what?
who did Transporter.
Yeah.
You know, Bob, like, because I can't see any of this, but apparently Bob is transporting the entire crew on our ship,
And he was running the scans for us too.
and he has like he has meters and statuses, and I'm just sitting here waiting for him to, because I can't see any of this because that's Bob's job.
He walked away afterwards, and he's just like, "Yeah, I armed and disarmed photon torpedoes like 3 times."
But like, and then it gets to the point where like we got all the people off the ship, and then Joe relayed the instructions. We have to destroy the ship, and Bob's like arming the torpedoes. They're getting ready to go. All right, guys, we're taking you out.
Oh.
God,
That was rough.
damn it.
But and that anger comes from a place of, oh my god, we had so much fun.
Yeah, and we kept joking around like, you think we can go back and like have them like boot us up like where we left off? Like, can you just like fast forward us to where we have to blow up the ship?
Right.
Can you
It
press
was-
F6 and just save this? I need you to save a profile for me right now.
Save state.
Yeah.
But it was very fun. It made me, again, I'd never done VR. I didn't really know what to expect, but all I want is to do more of that. At least that game for now. But it was so fun.
It was.
So that was in the free play.
Yeah, there wasn't any it wasn't in the Oculus booth, which
And that's
had
like put on by PAX. Right?
Yeah.
Right, and there were enforcers running it.
Yeah.
Again, you hyped the enforcers. Both of you were saying how great they were. The 2 enforcers that were running it were super friendly, and
There was
like,
only 2 there.
yeah.
I feel like I
of.
would have needed more.
No, they were managing it really, really well. And I mean, they set a line. They would bring you into like a place to sit before your turn was coming. So when
Okay.
they knew people were wrapping up, they would prime the next 4 people.
Okay.
No, it was a super smart play. And then for the mech game, they had 10 booths open. So you could go in and run around and fight against each other. It was really cool.
I did the single player one,
Mm-hmm.
and there was like 4 or 5 different games to choose from. And so that they just bring in 2 at a time. And so like one enforcer is already like 2 slots or 2 computers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I played Robo Recall, which was neat.
Did you recall the robos?
I shot a bunch of robots with my guns. At nowhere in there was there instructions to reload my guns. So like I'd shoot and it would be a lot of fun, and I'm double wielding things, and then like I'm just stop. And it's like, do I just throw the gun at the robots
It's
that are
always the
coming
right
at me?
answer.
And it's like, do I just try and draw new ones? Because if you're like, oh, one should appear at your hip or in your holster or like over your shoulder, because you pass a level, you get shotguns, and they're strapped to your back now. But like, if I drop one and try and draw a new holster, now I'm just picking up the one that's on the ground, so it's still empty.
Mm-hmm.
And that was confusing. And at some points, the enemy robots shoot at you, and their bullets go real slow, so you have a chance to catch them in midair and throw them back at them. So I chose that instead of like Beat Saber.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Saber
Oh,
Beat?
yeah.
Yep,
a
that's the
game that
game.
looks fascinating that I would never play in public.
You know what? You can barely tell.
No?
Yeah, it's just like you're doing almost any other game. It's the kind of thing.
Not the guy I walked by. Oh, man. I think that's what you heard. Oh, it was
He
flailing.
was really going.
He was coming at him from like low angles
Yeah.
because he couldn't quite get his hands up in time.
Well, you have to swing up for
You
something.
gotta swing. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like JR was saying, if you guys were sitting down, at one point I had to turn all the way around the opposite direction because like my cord was choking me.
Oh.
And it wasn't too bad on my eyes because I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, right, I'm a little bit cross-eyed and I see double sometimes. And how's it going to affect a thing where I have to look through both eyes at one image? It wasn't any more or less blurry than most 3D movies that I see or whatever.
Right.
But that's kind of why I don't go see 3D movies.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun. It's the kind of thing that I want to play like all the time and see how far I could get. But like I don't think I'd want to afford an Oculus at this
I was
point.
gonna say, I think I keep waiting for a friend of mine to like get VR.
Yep.
And I think all my friends are doing the same exact thing.
I don't know if I'd be more into playing fun games or teaching myself sculpting program, ZBrush.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'd start making Halloween masks or something silly like that.
You should probably buy VR. Right?
You should probably buy 4 headsets.
You
of
should
VR.
get at least 4 headsets. And then 5 headsets.
A lot of Star Trek.
A lot of Star Trek.
How many command bridges? Some crew.
I just want to command all the crews and be a part of the crews.
Ooh.
What else did I played? Oh man, the lists.
I've got a big one on my mind.
Hit me
if
with
I can
it.
drop it with you. So I realized something way too late last year, and that's that Kickstarter has been reset. They will change their entire booth layout every 2 hours, which means I walked into Kickstarter at one point, had an amazing experience, and I was
Mhm.
like, oh my God, I'm so glad I caught that, but there were only 4 people in there, and I was like, it's a little disappointing that they're only doing 4 games.
Mhm.
But they change it out so they have 4 sets of those every day, and you have tons of opportunities to catch them. Learned that too late, was not going to make that same mistake this year. Glad I didn't. So
The second day we started in there.
yeah, we
Didn't even go down to show floor.
which was such a great idea because show floor has a huge line for it. If you there were literally us and then one other person waiting for Kickstarter. We
it was mostly like us and then friends of the people running the Kickstarters that were
yeah,
there.
and we ended up playing those first rounds with their friends, and which also adds another level to it. But I got to do 2 of the Kickstarter shifts, and there were 3 games that I found that I thought were really exciting out of that. I want to start with the one that I played with you, Alex, which was called Tokyo Coin Laundry.
Yeah.
Is that the name that you wrote down too?
I didn't write it down.
Oh yeah, I think I took a picture
Does
of
it
it
say it on?
somewhere. It doesn't. It says Mr. Sudsy. This is a game that if I had bought it and brought it to you guys, all of us, including myself, would have quit in the first 5 minutes.
I almost quit in the first minute,
Yes.
to be honest.
It is the quirkiest physical game I have ever played. It is 90% a role-playing game.
We sat down. I'm sorry. I don't mean to steal this from you.
This is collaborative. Yeah.
We sat down and I was like, "Oh, Joe, know what this is because we talked about it in the past." And Joe was like, "That was Colin." I'm like, "Fuck."
No,
that was at the other. That was Unplugged, and I was like, "Oh, right." But I've seen this guy's product a lot, and I've seen like his you know, the box. They're all the same.
Right.
It's the tiny cards and the tiny like just whatever. And there's a bunch of different versions of it because apparently he must like live in the spirit of Tokyo somehow.
Right. And that's what it really was. Like, he invented the most Japanese RPG possible, and it really is more about role playing. And if it wasn't for this guy and one of his buddies that like really leans into
Kicked
that
it
role
off.
playing,
Yeah.
I would have quit this game right away. And we ended up playing for like over an hour. Like, it was about
You guys
about
played
an
it for a
hour.
while.
Yeah, we played it for a while.
I didn't realize it was that long.
But I actually had a great time playing.
Once
it.
we got through day 2, I was like, "Yeah, I'm invested in this."
Like, the game is built around, I won't get into the mechanics of it because it's kind of weirdly complicated, but it's built around you having traits to play throughout and giving you excuses to interact with each other, but you're really out there to build a story. I would recommend looking it up. He's still in sort of the testing phase for it. It is not for everybody. I can't stress that enough. But there is a group of people out there that will have the most giggly fun time playing this game.
Almost the most fun was the very end of it, where
yeah.
each person reveals who they were.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because it's a randomized, like, this is my occupation and this is my mood. And that's what you're starting with. And you,
this is Jordan Draper James.
Yes.
James.
Games.
Wow, I tried.
You did it.
Jordan Draper Games,
Yeah.
which Colin and I talked about at length.
Right.
On
It's
our
the whole
Unplugged
reason
recap.
I wanted to check it out, because I remember you guys talking about it.
Yep.
Which we started playing this, and this is nothing like what you guys had described.
Yep. Totally different. which is neat because it means that like they're putting out games that like you're not gonna get the same shit, you know.
And he'd said there's other versions of the game to play that come with that box. So we just happened to choose this one.
Right.
This is the one that he wanted to test out or
Right.
run that day.
It was the newest of them.
Mm-hmm. And so there's different things that make you who you are now, and now it's your job to relay this to the group that you're playing with, and you're just talking it out. You're just role playing as if we're playing D&D, but we're not acting like a jerk or trying to kill anything. Since you're Japanese, you're very polite, so you have to be polite about everything. And then
Right.
work through day 1, day 2, and day 3, and there's randomizes that of events that might happen in day 2, and something to randomize what might happen in day 3. Day 3 is like the last day that you're together. And then you're going to go your separate ways, and like, how are you going to talk this out and role play and be people?
How'd you feel about it? Like, if you had to give it like 1 out of 5 stars, would you?
I'd need a weird scale.
Yeah. I had so much fun with that game. I would give that game to such specific people to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yep.
Colin. Like, I was sitting there and I go, man, I wonder if I can drag Colin away from Root, because he would get such a kick out of this.
At one point, so I was a model, and I loved my mom a lot. And if I was depressed, it was because
Yeah, but what about in the game?
I didn't. If I was depressed, because I didn't talk to my mom in like 3 hours. And then Jordan was playing with us, and so he tried to get me to come help advertise for his meditation center because I'm famous. And I was like, no, that's okay. I don't want to. And there's a sheet that gives you like your background, like maybe what you can go off of. And the game ends, and we're all explaining like who we are and what our backgrounds are and what we developed with them. And he was like, oh, so I'm in a cult. And I'm like, you tried to recruit me to your What?
I'm so happy.
One of these other guys was in the Yakuza, as it
He
turns
was-
out.
and I
But he
didn't
was
even-
so nice.
I didn't even realize Yakuza was an option on here.
He was like so polite, but of course, like Yakuza people don't just go around murdering everybody. Like he's got laundry to do.
Mhm.
So he's hanging out.
Mhm.
He's friendly. He might have almost killed somebody during the
He
course.
coulda,
of it.
yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Joe is gonna build a
Gundam.
mech.
Yeah, I was gonna make Big O.
You guys are talking about this while doing laundry.
Yeah. No. That's just that it didn't come up. It came up that I was a big fan of Gundam.
But your plan.
As it turns out, I'm an engineer studying abroad and,
my God.
and developed this. So the Yakuza guy was going to assassinate me.
And
But-
one of the girls was super lonely, and the shop was supposed to be closed, and so the owner was trying to kick us out and was like beating us with a broom. And the one girl's like, "I'm gonna stick around because I kind of dig this."
Yeah, it was an interesting vibe.
While you guys were playing laundry,
Mhm.
Colin and I and Bob was spectating.
And then I told Jordan Draper I really loved him on Mad Men. Go on,
I really hope you didn't.
Root.
I really, for the sake of this show,
What?
I hope you didn't say that out loud.
You
to
played
him.
Root. I am Root.
I think we're just gonna end it here.
Yeah. It's episode 4 billion.
Oh God.
So the Kickstarter booth was set up, and we had a chance to talk to some of the creators, and I don't think I totally realized this. In fact, no, I know for a fact I didn't know this, that like Kickstarter does development as well.
Mhm.
And Jordan, the guy we were talking to, was like on I can't remember the word that he used. Basically, he was doing like almost a live-in with Kickstarter to like develop his game. And the whole RPG element of it came from one of the leaders of that group. So it was almost like a residency or something like, oh, that was the word, residency. He's doing a residency with Kickstarter. And it makes sense. I feel like gaming is a huge part of what Kickstarter does, and it's a big part of their culture. And I think they've been part of the revolution that's going through.
Yeah.
But that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I got a chance to talk to some of those folks. I also have a few more games to highlight from there, but did you want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, I mean, we played Root, which I keep calling Roost. It's even in my notes when I was messaging you, Alex,
Mhm.
because I wanted to make note of the person who was demoing the game for us, because he was a very patient man. His name was Marshall, and I even said Roost. Game is Root. The game just made $1.7 million on Kickstarter.
It's the talk of the town when it comes to like Reddit board games, the subreddit. Like people are jigging on this game hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't think it's for me.
No.
We got a good demo of it, and we got to play a couple rounds of it. Keep in mind, it was me, Colin, Bob was spectating, and we were playing with 2 people we did not know.
Kevin
And-
was there too, right?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Kevin was
Mhm.
there. And there was a woman who was playing with us for a little bit, but she had to bail because I believe she was an exhibitor herself. And then there was one other gentleman who was playing with us. I did not catch his name. But we got a demo of it. It took a while to like learn. It was a little confusing. And again, I'm if you have questions on exploding kittens, man, I can help you out all day. But like the really in-depth board games, I struggle with. I'm not gonna lie.
Like when there's more than 3 decks of cards. And
Yeah,
then-
and like
and
each
then
person
chips.
each person has different abilities, and like, oh, this is your blank phase and this is your blank phase, but you need to do this phase first.
Mhm.
That kind of stuff. And it's admittedly we did the whole 2-hour block, and all together we played 4 turns each, I believe.
Yeet.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
heavy.
It took some getting going. I believe we didn't even take our first turn until about an hour in.
Mm.
Because it was just each person played a different faction of animals. I was the flock of crows, not murder of crows, I guess, if you want to call it that. I was the crows.
It's a flock of seagulls.
Yes.
And a murder of crows.
Yep.
Yeah.
And each thing can do has different abilities and things like that. And and I get it. Like, it's obviously a hugely popular game. $1.7 million on Kickstarter. And then one thing that's neat, PAX Tabletop, they release the statistics from the free play section where
Like
you
the
can
rental section.
where you can rent out games. They scan the game and then they give you the game, you play and give it back. They do a similar thing at like Kineticon and stuff like that. They had a listing of their total checkouts for PAX East 2019. They had 7,231 total checkouts throughout the entirety of the convention. The most checked out game on the list, taking a look here, was Root. with 173 checkouts over a 4-day span.
And you think about how long that game is.
Yep.
And somehow it got taken out 170 some odd times. Yeah.
The next closest second place was Azul with 110. And then Dragoon was third place with our good friends at Layaways Games. I did see Jake there at one point doing a demo with 93. So first place was 173. Second place was 63 more than that with 110. So Root was the number one most checked out game. Also just made a crap load of money on Kickstarter. And, we got to play test it. And again, while it wasn't my cup of tea, it's still neat to be able to experience a game like that.
It looks beautiful.
It was. It's a very pretty game. And even we were playing with like he even said like, oh yeah, in the real version, that's not going to be there. This has been removed. This has been changed for balancing issues. This was too strong. So pretend that's a 0, things like that. Cause we were playing like kind of like a demo version of it, but it was an interesting game. I think a lot of people will love it. I could see it being a very popular game in the future for a long time coming. There's probably going to be expansions and different factions and all that stuff. I could see that this game sticking around for a while.
Oh, it's exciting.
You're exciting.
Hey. Shut up. 2 more games that I discovered in Kickstarter. One of them I'm going to talk about kind of briefly. It's still in its development phase, but it was recently successfully kickstarted. It is a very pretty game, but I only have a small picture of the box art. It's called Mechanica. But this art design is prevalent all the way throughout the course of the game. It has this sort of like Jetsons era imaging around it. And the entire idea is around you developing robots and then kind of building up your own factory card to have the pieces move around inside of it. It's really cool. And one of the mechanics of it is that there's a new pieces that you can add to your factory come out. And every turn that happens, those pieces rotate through. And if they get to the beginning, they drop through. And so you only have a limited amount of time to like pick up pieces and buy. It's a very fluid mechanic. I'd recommend looking it up because it's a game that it makes so much more sense if you just look at it. But it's this weird, cute, evil robot processing game. And I really recommend it.
I mean, just the evil, cute robot processing game.
Without a doubt.
All you need to say are those 4 words. 5 words.
My sale was pitched like it was there.
Yep.
I like robots.
But the one that took over for me, and actually it's a creator, and so it delves into 2 games, is a recently successfully kickstarted game that's called Streets of Steel, which is very clearly, very explicitly like a Streets of Rage, Simpsons arcade game, Turtles in Time sort of side-scrolling, beat 'em up board game. It is probably one of the cooler ideas I've seen come out of like unique board game style. You look like you have a question, but do you just want me to?
I've got it. You lost me.
Okay. So
you named 3 video games, and then you said it's a board game.
It is a board game. It is. So I want you to imagine, like, you know what those 3-fold pamphlets look like?
Yeah.
And so at any given time, there are 3 pieces that are laid down that are like that, and then a stack in front of them that have a whole bunch of other ones. You play through a round, and at the end of that round, that first stack falls off, and everything that's on it dies. The other 2 stacks move forward, and a new stack comes out.
Okay.
So you're side-scrolling. That's what's going through. And while that's happening, there are different symbols that are on the cards that tell you like where people are spawning and what you have to do to fight them and all that. It's the fighting mechanics are based off of what your character is. All of your characters are like this beautiful bastardization of every 80s 90s cliche that you can find in movies and side scrollers. One of the characters you can play as is of the mayor of the town. So Mike Hager, like Final Fight style.
Oh man.
But it's this, like, his name is Mayor Van Dam. Like, it's just what you want. It's so beautiful. And so I ended up looking into the Kickstarter a little bit. So they have a pixel version and then a standee portion. So you can spend a cheaper amount and have these, like, beautifully drawn pixel art characters that you move around on little stands. Or he's actually making figurines that are coming out for it, too. So you can play with a bunch of little figures that play through it. It was cool. It was unique. The guy that made the game, Ryan Lesser, it's Wild Power Games is the name of his company. He was there and demoed it for myself and for Kevin, and it was just so cool.
I'm a little angry.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you guys, but this is what kids who didn't have game systems would do.
This is how you did it, yeah.
Like I'd play one game and then return it to the movie rental place.
Take out paper.
And then I would make some I made a bunch of Mega Man levels when I was younger.
Oh.
Yeah.
do.
And and it's like you just make your video game ID on
and then
paper,
you move the paper around and
then, yeah.
I just pretended I was in the game. Like, I really liked GoldenEye the first time I ever tried it, but it didn't have an N64, so when I got home, my other friends who also didn't have N64s, we would pretend that we were in GoldenEye, and we would go around killing people as James Bond.
That's why when I first met you, you'd walk around in a bowler hat and squat down and just start chopping at people's knees.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No slaps, man.
I'd crush golf balls when it turns out I had a Slashinger 7 instead of a Slashinger 9 or 4 or whatever.
You know more about that than I
You
do.
guys see Goldfinger?
Nope.
He plays golf.
I saw Goldmember.
Yo, that movie's funny as shit.
So Ryan, he has a game that came out. So this Streets of Steel game is his second game. It's the more recent one, but he has a game that came out a long time ago now at this point. I want to say 5 years ago. That's called High Heavens, which is a game that I picked up. And I went down to visit their booth based off of having a conversation with him. One of his workers, Christina, was demoing the game. She showed it to me. Within 5 minutes, I went out and bought it. It is a game where you have one pantheon of gods, say those that come from Asgard, and then your opponent has one that come from another pantheon, say Mount Olympus, and you try to destroy each other's homes and each other. It is a beautiful game with really cool pieces. The tile mechanic, like to count your health, is really unique. She literally taught me that game in less than a minute. And we played it for 10 minutes. It's super fast and super fun. We had been talking about games being too long.
Yeah.
Apparently, one of the big considerations that Ryan has when he develops these games, he's a parent. He wants these games to be games you can do in 30 minutes.
Yep.
And I love that. As someone who is not a parent, but does not have the best attention span in the world. If you can teach me a game quick and we can get done with it quick, I get really excited. Kickstarter booth was awesome this year. There's clearly so much love and investment being put into the people who are developing their games right now. I cannot recommend. It's my favorite place to go to at PAX right now.
The Kickstarter Forest.
Oh,
That's the theming they chose for it.
Yeah, it's
And
like
they had
the glade.
And they had ambient sound of like a forest with birds chirping and shit.
So nice.
It's an off-putting room.
Yeah.
It's dark in there. There's like mood lighting. It's very, very cool. And I remember it's nice that they wrote it because like it never felt packed. Remember a couple years, the first year we went, Alex, when we went in there and like you bought Cards Against Humanity and stuff, and they had the big wall of the bigger, blacker boxes.
Yeah.
It was packed in there. You couldn't even move. They had like Exploding Kittens in the corner. Was Exploding Kittens out then?
Yeah.
Or was that later?
They had the giant cards too.
Yeah.
Is that when you and I played?
Yeah.
That
The
was
giant game?
That was
Yeah.
a different year. But even then,
I think that was 2017.
that was 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in 2014, I remember the Kickstarter booth, or the room just being packed. Like you barely move. We had enough room to buy Cards Against Humanity, and then we got out. But this year, like it was just comfortable, filled with really cool people. I'm going to get into a little bit more of that with my highlights as we wrap up the end of the show. But it was a very cool room. If you're ever at a PAX and they have a Kickstarter lounge, Kickstarter room, highly recommend you check it out. Because you'll probably find a game that you'll end up loving that you might even be able to back on Kickstarter or has been backed on Kickstarter or whatever. What else do we got for games for like the big moments that we had? We all played We're Doomed.
Oh, that's a big one. Yeah.
That was probably the biggest one. I think all of us played that.
I think it was they had closed down the main floor, and
so
we
were in the board game area,
and it was our first chance to sort of like come together, including Alex. You do PAX better than almost anyone I know, because it's one like we all end up like circling together like maybe once or twice throughout the day, and Alex is like, "No, I've got stuff to do." But it was great because Alex came back in, and it was like our core 6 people.
Yep,
Yeah.
along with 2 friends that we met. I believe Alex, did you get their names?
Yes,
I remember you would ask them.
But like it was the kind of thing where we're going, what do we do next? Should we play a game? What game should we play?
And I remember because like we were all hungry and we wanted to get food, but it's also like
I don't want to
leave yet.
Yeah.
There was a lot of energy. We had also circled back with some of our other PAX friends. So we had run into Vicky and Allie. They had been wandering the floor, so it was our first chance to catch up with them. Joe was there, like their big group that they travel with.
Trish, we ran into them.
Trish, we ran into. So it was this nice, like we were still getting that. I had a second wind.
Yep.
Like it was one of those like, all right, I got time for one more game.
It's like, let's play a game and then we'll go find food.
And I can't remember JR or Alex, but one of you had heard of this game.
We had
ahead of
gotten one of the things with media badges which PAX was so graciously to approve us for again this year, is your email gets put on their press list, which gets released to developers. So you get inundated with hey, check out this game in the weeks leading up to PAX. And I have a screenshot of it because I didn't want to forget it or have it lost in my emails of We're Doomed. And I was like, this looks interesting. It reminded me of Secret Hitler in a way, like the box art and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember screenshotting it, and I meant to send it to Alex later, and I just totally forgot. And then when I was going through and cleaning out all the pictures on my phone recently, I was like, oh, there it is. I'm such an idiot. But we just happened to see it, and I was like, oh, I remember seeing it. We should play this. And a table just opened up. It was the fates, the stars aligning.
And one of the people from the booth was there, and I was like, and I don't remember if we talked to her, but I go, she was at one of the panels about your indie games,
right?
About like how to pitch them and be professional and sell them. And I was like, she's important, you guys.
She's kind of a big deal.
And so someone came up and said, "You want to play? We'll get you someone to play." And we sat down. Our new friends was Lanny and Chris.
Yes. Yep.
And then Alex showed us how to play. That's not me. That's Alex Hine, who works with the company. Which one of the things I wanted to ask about, the guy that taught you how to play Root, and like, so the instructions took a long time. With Alex, she was assertive and had us shut up and sit down and go steal chairs from over there because there was a lot of us.
Yeah.
And take all your stuff off.
No. She didn't tell us to steal any chairs.
We borrowed
wrong.
Yeah.
We
just borrowed
she found a
chairs.
bunch of chairs and it was
put them
fine.
out. It was fine. It was fine.
Everything was fine.
And so she gave us the real quick rules. And there's a timer, so it only takes 15 minutes. And
the entire game, 15 minutes.
Yep.
It literally can't take longer.
And it was a matter of like, you have to rush because this, and here's what you can do. And then she would like leave us alone for a bit and kind of come back and check in, and then leave us alone for a bit and come back and check in. I had a lot of fun. It does get fast paced. Our first round was our learning round. We all lost. We all died.
Yep.
And then it was like, you guys want to try it again? We want to.
What's the hit us with a premise?
We're doomed. The entire world's going to die. We have to build a spaceship to take us off planet and survive somewhere else. Each one of us represents a government. So there's
a different stocracy,
autocracy, democracy,
technocracy,
theocracy, all these things. And then each of those can do a specific thing, either for free or for less than normal. And the idea is you make resources, contribute them to build a rocket.
Building influence.
When the rocket, when the time runs up, you see if you have enough resources to have built a rocket. If you do you have enough for multiple seats?
Do you have enough influence to land on the rocket?
Because you need the person with the most influence gets the first seats. So like I could have contributed no resources but have the most influence. I'd get on, even though I put in the least amount of work. And with that, you have to draw event cards, knows might alter what's happening in the game. Some make a lot of sense. Some are really silly, but they all make it fun.
I had one card that I had to place in front of. It was a card that only I could read to myself. Some of them you read out loud. Some of them you keep secret. And one of mine was I had to place a sleeper agent inside another government. So what I had to do was I had to put the card face down in front of any other player. And if they touched it, then I lost 5 influence, or I lost all my influence because they found my sleeper agent. And then I got exposed.
Yeah.
But luckily my agent went undiscovered. As you never know. Am I supposed to touch this? What if I touch this? Am I going to get fucked?
Right.
You know, like it's a neat.
And if someone's getting kind of sabotagey, you can nuke them.
As somebody who has run D&D campaigns for you guys, I love this game because you are punished for dawdling.
Yeah.
Like it is, and you can dawdle. You'll all lose.
Yep.
Like it was. And so the second time around, I sat out to watch people play, and it was a thing to see. It was great because it wasn't like people were just backstabbing blindly or whatever. Like people were playing strategically, people were taking leadership and all that. It was awesome.
And I don't know if it's a matter of like to get all of us, our group, to shut up and sit down and then listen is quite a task.
It is.
And Alex did a really good job with that. And it's the kind of thing of like, I wonder if Root Guy had a tougher time. If that's why instructions took a while. It's like the days start out and everyone's hyper versus the day's over and everyone's still hyper. But
there is something to be said for. I think that this is a game that any of us could probably teach to somebody in 2 or 3 minutes.
It was a quick one, which is what I need, especially at that point in the day. When I'm bored. I'm not quite there, but I'm borderline grouchies.
Yeah.
I got some rumblies in my tummies, and if I don't get food there soon, I'm gonna start getting sassy, and I'm gonna feel bad about it later.
For someone who's not a huge Secret Hitler guy, it strikes me as there's a game to play inside of it. That's not just there's a secret, or I'm trying to screw somebody over. It's like, no, there's an actual common goal.
And even then, enough changes fast enough where you might. And I had to sabotage the ship and not get away, and I committed to it real fast.
Yeah,
Was that the button?
No, Bob got the button.
Bob had the button.
If the card fit me because I was a theocracy, and I was like, the sinners shouldn't leave the planet, is what my card ended up being. So it just fit my government style, and so it was like I just wouldn't contribute, and I could take resources out of the pile if I wanted to.
And you did.
I got nuked.
Yeah,
I nuked him real bad. Yeah, I nuked the shit out of him.
But that so second game, Lonnie and Bob got away.
No, Lonnie and me.
You really?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Me and Lonnie were both the same kind of ocracy.
You were both democracy.
Yep.
Okay.
Were we democracy? I can't remember, but I know that we won.
Wasn't Bob.
It was so
it was me
good
and
to
Lonnie.
watch that with the two of you, though, because there was a standoff that happened, and I can't remember what the standoff was about.
It was because Bob had a button.
But it took a good 2 minutes, and a couple people were 2 minutes in a 15-minute game where everyone's gonna die is a lot of freaking time.
There's a percentage that I can't do the mental math on, but it's a lot of percent.
So that was from Breaking Games. Hopefully we'll talk to them more in the future. I have Alex's card. We'll chat with her a bit. Weirdly, they had this big life-size standee of John Lovitz.
Oh yeah,
He showed up on Saturday because he's voicing one of their other games.
actual John Lovitz.
The John Lovitz was there.
Wow.
He was there Saturday. They have a weird game. It's like a stuffed animal devil.
Oh yeah,
But there's a Simon Says pad in the middle of it, and it's basically playing Simon with the beep beep beep, except he's yelling at you the entire time. So it's John Lovett's voice coming out of the devil, and he's just insulting you and saying stuff about your play style. It can't turn off until you beat level 10. So you have to get this far in the game to shut up John Lovitz, and you can't do it any other way. And for like bonus dollars, when you buy it, he comes with a pitchfork. The bottom of the pitchfork is the screwdriver to open up the battery compartment.
and take the
At least they have a little bit of mercy. A little bit.
We must be running like super late.
We're getting there on time, probably another 15 minutes at most.
Can I drop 2 quick games?
I figured we could talk about the games that warrant like a little bit extra, and then at the end, if there are some like, because I have a couple that I could fire off quick, like 10-second synopses, or like this is cool, this is cool, this is cool.
I'm done with my little bit extras,
Cool.
so I'm eager to hear what you guys have.
I played a game called I Captain. That was like in a developer area where you'd play it and then go, "What do you think? What could we fix?" And I go, "What?" I have to recommend stuff now. You're a pirate captain. You have to recruit sailors and other pirates, and you can go on quests, encounter other ships of pirates. You could try and steal their ship. You could just chat with them and go away if you want to, but it's turn-based. So like I would move one of my pirates and have him fire the cannon, have him board the ship and attack. They get to move one of their characters, and so it's I'm not used to all the turn-based stuff. I never played Final Fantasy or whatever.
Right.
But that was interesting to me. And he's like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "That was not very much XP for beating another ship." And he's like, "Well, there's quests." And I was like, "Right. Okay." I don't know games. But that was fun. I might look into that later. He said beginning to end would be about 8-hour play. And that was neat. After that, I got pulled into a different VR game that I hated.
Oh.
I also found Lemnis Gate, which is still developing. Oddly enough, also turn-based, first-person shooter. So you have basically 8 classes of soldier with different objectives. So it's you versus another player. And like one of you wants to destroy generators, the other one wants to protect generators. So you send out your first person, you get 30 seconds to run out there and do something. Then the other player goes, they get 30 seconds after your character happens. So they can just run up and shoot your character in your first 20 seconds. You didn't get to shoot your generator. Their next person goes, they get to shoot your first person, so their first person survives. You do this 8 times. and then it all plays out in real time at the end to see who actually achieved their goals.
Huh.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even think I understand
That
that,
hurt
but I
my
want to
brain.
look
Oh
it
yeah,
up.
it's a weird one. Yeah. So if you go to lemnisgate.com, it's a closed beta. You can sign up and ask for the beta. They have like a YouTube video that will explain it and show you like basically what's happening. At one point, he fired one of his weapons. It was like a rocket launcher, but his previous character was directly in front of him, so he just exploded himself
Oh.
with that character. So that was fun. Like it was weird. It was a weird mechanic. It wasn't quite my game, but it was an interesting idea, and I dig like weird ideas. I didn't get a chance to look into Starport Delta, but it's basically a SimCity but in outer space.
What?
And I liked Everspace so much I already bought it and have played it for a couple hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't found a really good flight simulator spaceship in a long time. The one that was attached to Star Wars Galaxies a long time ago was one of my favorite things. And just upgrading your ship with new components and buying, better things and going on space missions. I loved it and haven't found a suitable replacement for that in a long time. Everspace has been that replacement recently. I'm still figuring out like the basis and idea of the game. You basically go on one run and you get as far as you can. And once you die, you start back at the beginning again. But you go through like a couple different galaxies and you can upgrade along the way. And once you finish, you can use cash to upgrade different stuff in your ship. So I can upgrade slots to put weapons, but I only find weapons while I'm out flying. But that was fun. And I played some Jackbox. Because if you play Jackbox in one of the lobbies and you win, you get a pin. You can just buy their pin. It's of one of their rap robots. You could just buy one, or if you play like in the food area, you could win one. And that was fun. And you just got like, you're playing against a whole bunch of strangers who were all funnier and better than me.
They're neat games. I got to play those down when we were in Texas when we were visiting with family. And I don't want to brag, but I won like 4 games in a row of it. It is what it is,
I don't know if the sale is still going on, but Party Pack 3 and 5 have been on sale for, I think, the last week. So if anyone's looking.
If I actually had friends I'd invite over to do that, I'd buy some of those.
It's good to know where we stand, Alex. That means a lot.
Just 2 people alone playing Jackbox.
I'm never the, hey, let's come look at my TV person.
Yeah.
Well, I got it on the Switch. So I can bring it and then plug in the TV, and then we can do it.
We're gonna do that soon.
No.
Real quick, some games that I played. One Finger Death Punch 2. That's a game. It's the name of an actual game. They actually were giving out free Steam codes to it, the show. So I have already downloaded that, and I've been playing a pretty significant amount. I've probably put like maybe 3 or 4 hours into it, which is a lot for me when I'm not playing Apex. It's a really neat game. Literally, you use 2 buttons, either right or left, because you're a stick figure and people attack you from either side, either right or left, and then you attack them. It's super addicting. Not quite a rhythm game, but like it's like a rhythm timing game. It's interesting, but it was a lot of fun. Recommend that one. Demagnet. I'm probably pronouncing this incorrectly. It's like Demagnate. It was a VR game that Colin played. That was essentially the way it's like billed. It's like Portal, VR Portal, but with magnets instead of portals. Magnetic powered gloves used to solve puzzles. Essentially, one glove was like positive, one was negative, so you could either like attract stuff to you or push it away from you. And you had to like put stuff on switches and blah blah blah. It was really interesting. I got to watch Colin play through like the entirety of the demo with that one. Also, they had candy at their booth that was delicious. That was Bitcake Studio. They're from Brazil. Also featuring the game is voiced by, I don't know how the voice works, but is voiced by Ashley Birch, who we're all big fans of.
The VR game that I played that wasn't Robo Recall, that I didn't like, I couldn't tell if I was supposed to turn my head or turn with the joystick.
Right.
And then I would do both of them and be completely disoriented, and the game was a mess.
Yeah.
I wish I had the name of it so I could tell you not to play it.
One game that I want to look into more of that I played, and actually I kind of felt like a jerk, because early on, I can't remember what day it was, but a guy came up and he was like, "Hey man, you want to play a game?" And I was like, "I got I'm meeting someone. Bye. Later on, that I ended up playing his game.
Mm-hmm.
It was Armed and Gelatinous by Influent. Wait, I don't know who made 3 Flip Studios. There it is. And they actually had a pin, too.
Mm-hmm.
I dropped the business card. They had a pin arcade pin. But it was essentially you play like these little blobs. Like you can see them on the business card. They're like little angry face blobs.
What do they have? Guns or something?
And the thing is, they're like you start out just blobs.
Yeah.
And you can charge up and you can charge into people.
Yeah.
Like you can charge up an attack, and then when you release it, you dash in a direction that you're holding the stick in. You're just kind of floating around on the screen. Kind of like Shapes and Beats in a way. As you hit, there's like boxes that come on screen. You break them open, there's guns in them. All different like shotguns, assault rifles, bazookas, rocket launchers. And when you touch them with your character, they morph into your body. And depending on where you touch them with your body, they stick out of that side.
Mm-hmm.
And you can start shooting with those guns. You can shoot your friends. And the more guns you collect, the more enormous and like vile looking, like your face like starts to get like really contorted and stuff. Like you get huge. But if anyone charges into you, you explode and you die, and all your guns go over, and they can pick them all up.
Oh.
So it was an interesting party game. The developers were really neat. They're really enthusiastic about their product, which I thought was cool. Like as I'm sitting there playing, they're like cheering me on, even though I was getting wrecked. Me, Bob, and Ken played with a fourth rando, and he destroyed us both games we played. But it was a neat game. Like he was giving me pointers. He's, "Oh man, you did really good." Blah, blah. I was like, "Thanks, man." But that was a neat game. I want to look into that more in the future. I think it's a fun party game type deal that we could play. Double Kick Heroes, metal rhythm shooter. It's exactly what it sounds like. Ken and I played this one for the little bit of time that I was with Ken. It's like Guitar Hero. It's like 8-bit, like, but it's about drums. You just play. It's like you're driving on a car, and there's stuff coming up behind you, and you have to shoot it by hitting buttons in rhythm with the song. It's like heavy metal songs. But like eventually you have to start moving the car up and down to shoot stuff in the right. And it was tough. It got real hard, real fast.
We got emails about that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
That goes with your whole weird time travel thing that I don't understand. Like you say that, I don't think I can picture that. I'm eager to see it. That sounds super cool.
It was humbling because at first I was like, this game's easy.
Think side scrolling Mad Max. What's his name? With the speakers and the flame guitar.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah.
I have no idea what his name is.
It's he's the
but I know what you're talking
the
about.
Doof Warrior.
Yeah.
So but kind of like that, but like shooting behind you.
Oh,
because
dope.
there's shit coming after you.
Yeah.
And that makes a song.
So you're trying to watch the stuff coming at you and where to shoot it, but you also need to follow the song at the bottom of the screen to know when to hit the correct buttons. And it was neat. The dev was cool. I unfortunately don't recall his name. Let's see here. David Elahy. He was really cool. Neat little game, kind of like tucked into the corner.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else real quick that I wanted to touch on? Armed and Gelatinous, Root. Shovel Knight Showdown. We played Shovel Knight Showdown and Cyber Shadow at the Yacht Club Games booth. Shovel Knight Showdown is essentially Smash Brothers, but with Shovel Knight characters, which, you had me at Shovel Knight. Wasn't very good at it myself. It's not a game that I'm going to go hunting down, but I love seeing Yacht Club make games. I love Shovel Knight. Joe turned me on to Shovel Knight years ago, and while I'm very bad at it, I can respect it. I did beat it. I beat the main storyline of Shovel Knight, so I can say I've beaten it.
The cool thing with Showdown is that if you do have the treasure trove, it does get included with it. So originally, if you have the treasure trove, that's how you get the other version. So you get Shovel Knight and then the Plague Knight level and Spectre Knight, and then coming soon, King Knight. But if you have that package, they're going to throw this in on that, I think, on most versions of it, which is cool. And then they were premiering another game too, which I can never... Cyber Shadow?
Shadow, yes.
Yeah, so I got a chance to play that one alongside you, and it is hard.
Very hard. I kept describing it to people, because I know a lot of people were actually pumped about Cyber Shadow. I kept describing it as Ninja Gaiden meets Contra. So it's like I'm a ninja with a sword, and then there's also all these things shooting at me, and machines and mechanicals, and very difficult game. I did have the opportunity to chat with the developer a little bit. He was a pretty cool guy. He at one point we were playing it, and like he made a face to his developer friend who was also at Yacht Club, and like apparently there's a bug in the thing that like every time someone got to it, but I was like, what? And he wouldn't tell me.
Yeah,
But I get it. It's one of those things like sometimes you bring an unstable build because you got it. You ever see Indie Game the movie?
No.
There's a thing about that. But anyways,
there was a Switch game that was shooting zombies, but like you were basically on a rail. You just had to keep running forward.
Yep.
And you could choose what gun you wanted to use. You had to run through like a flaming green stockpile to reload your gun. And depending on what gun you picked at one level, every time you got to this spot, the game froze.
Oh.
ooh, yeah.
And like they started predicting when it would freeze and glitch.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep.
Like clockwork.
Good stuff.
Last Cyber Saturday was cool. That's going to be coming soon, I believe, for Yacht Club. And also one thing that I really I forgot I played, but it was really neat. I played it with Colin, and now I want to play it more. We played TAC. TAC is the game from the King Killer
Oh
Chronicles.
yeah, that was the board game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like checkers-ish from Patrick Rothfuss's books. They always talk about playing TAC. And I know Wormwood has made like a beautiful version of it that they always make beautiful things. But there was one guy demoing TAC, and he taught Colin and I how to play it in like 2 minutes, and we played a couple rounds. I won the first one. Colin destroyed me the next two, and I felt very stupid. But it was really neat to play that, and I'm anxious to play a lot more. We are running low on time, so I want to get through that really quick. Joe, what else do you got?
I only got 2 left. One of them, Kevin was super excited about this game, played it, got even more excited. It's called Cogs and Commissars. It's another board game. You basically play as robot communists that are trying to take over the most people and have them go into your ranks. It's a lot about like manipulating what happens on your cards to affect other people. I love when games do this. They have 2 versions. One was a $25 version so you can play it. The $50 version had the tokens, so they're worth 1, 2, and 3 a piece, and you could see them at different stacks. It was a beautiful game, really easy to learn. We picked it up quick. We played with a stranger. I love it. Kevin picked it up. I highly recommend checking it out. The last game that I'm going to talk about is one that I literally saw as I was walking out of the convention. I only got a chance to look at it for a little bit. Another super beautiful game, and it's a first one by these developers, and it's called Fire Tower. And I would recommend taking a look at it. Did you see this one too?
That was at Kineticon last year.
I was going to say that sounds familiar.
So if you're curious about it, it's at runawayparade.com, all one word, no hyphens or anything like that. They're a brand new group, but they have this very cool game, as you might imagine by the name Fire Tower. You are each in a corner of a board with a fire tower, and you have fire that is spreading throughout the course of your forest, and you can do things like summon airdrops or shift the wind to try to protect your tower while destroying the other ones that are around. They have a few different game modes, but the pieces itself, did you both get a chance to look at it?
Yeah.
They're so cool. Like these just like little plastic shiny orange sort of pieces,
And there's like hundreds of them.
Yeah,
Because you got to cover so many
there's
squares.
so many. I was talking to Gwen. The game looked like it was a really good deal. She was one of the 2 developers for it. It looks like a good deal. I highly recommend checking it out. I got to see a little bit of a demo, and it looked really, really cool. So those are my 2.
Games.
And a million others. And then I'm just going to throw it out again because I had so much fun. Oh my gosh, what's it called? It's right down there. High Heavens, the Ryan Lesser game. Man, this game was dope. I can't wait for you guys to play it. So that's what I have.
We played a lot of games. There's more that, man, so many games. This is definitely a record-setting year for me in terms of games that I played. And as far as, man, I wanted to touch on some more stuff, but we are out of time.
What were you guys tempted on? What was super tempting, but you shot it down? Mine was dice. I didn't buy any fancy dice.
Oh.
Even though I might have wanted to.
Yeah.
And Norse Foundry had fantasy coins because I'm big into coins. Maybe I want some dwarven currency or dragon or cyber. But anyway, the price wasn't there for me this time around.
Yeah.
There were 2 awesome games about stealing stuff, and I just recognize it in myself that I always want them. One was called Heat by Asmata Games, and then the other one was called Caper, which had beautiful art on it. Man, they looked like awesome games, but I held off. I held off a little bit.
Yeah. As far as I wasn't really tempted by much. I did have an internal struggle this year with the merch booth, but ultimately I ended up making a good decision this year. That's a dumb story. Nobody needs to hear that. But yeah, I actually, to this day, I don't believe I have ever bought a game at PAX, which is really strange to say. I've bought merch, I've bought product, I've bought pins galore. apparel and things like that. But I don't think I've ever bought a game. I think all the games that like I would buy, my friends end up buying, or I back it on Kickstarter or something because it's not out yet. But as for like Ack Inc. manual, that's probably going to be mine in the future. But shit, man, I'm probably gonna have to get a VR headset at some point.
Oh, don't worry, Alex is picking them up.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. He's buying all 5.
I'll get all of them. I'll get it like
Yep.
6. Whatever.
Yep. He said, not that guy who invites people over. He's looking for more reasons to do it.
Yep.
I have a big open room. We're all sitting there.
As
on
far
the
like
bridge.
I feel
That's
like
not the Nerf arena anymore. No, that's the bridge.
it's the bridge. Yep. The PAX itself was a great show. I felt the layout was great. Not too many the new meta, which Alex keeps yelling at me for. New meta, man. Thursday, Friday. Thursday in general. Thursday.
I love it.
Oh my God. Thursday was heaven on earth in Boston. Loved it.
If you're interested, tickets are still on sale.
They are, according to the website.
You're saying, Alex, sorry.
When it comes to time to buy New York Comic Con tickets, remember that.
True. We just got an email today. Did you get it?
Yeah.
With like general pre-sale and stuff. Can't wait to get our media denial. It's going to be a lot of fun. PAX was fantastic. I feel like there's so much more I want to say, but we are already coming up on 2 hours. So thank you, humble listener, to listening to our ramblings. Grades. I feel like while this was a very different PAX for all of us, because I get stuck in my ways. And I always think back to PAX of 2015, the first year that me, Joe, and Colin went together. And it's like, I need to replicate this in every way, shape, and form. And every PAX since then has gotten further and further away from it. And sometimes it can be a bummer. But this year, I just said, fuck all that. And I said, stuff's going to happen. And I think it was one of the best PAXs that we've had in years. And I think, we're adding more people. Some people don't go. Some people are with us. Some people aren't. And I think I just need to recognize that. And when I recognize things like that, I think I end up having a better time instead of trying to duplicate something that was looks at watch 4 years ago. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but it was a good time. It was a very good time. So PAX, that's a long way of me saying it is solid A, beautiful show. Give me more of it. I'm already counting the days, until the next one. Who's got a grade? Hit me with a grade.
Right. I forgot we were.
It's a late one.
A-. Yep.
That's it.
I don't have any story.
And I don't have a lot to put behind this. This was a B+ PAX for me, and I've been thinking about it. I had no bad things happen at this PAX, but I think I've almost always been wowed. And I don't even really blame the convention on this one. I had mentioned to you guys, I feel like maybe I should have gone to panels, or maybe I should have seen something a little bit different. I don't think I PAXed as well as I have in previous years, and so I don't want to pin on the convention. I will say it was harder for me to find indie experiences, which was the thing that really blew my mind last year, between things like Illimat, and they had an indie tabletop area that they didn't have this year, or at least that I wasn't able to find.
There were some things that were shuffled into different spots. Yes,
and I found like a huge chunk of them as I was walking out. Fire Tower was there, and I was just so mad I didn't find that earlier. Caper was there too. And they were kind of tucked off in corners and a little hard to find. Having said that, I had an awesome time. I'm already excited. I'm counting the days to PAX 2020 now at this point. So B+, but a happy B+ where I had a great time.
Absolutely. Big ups to everyone. Paint Arcade, PAX, Enforcers, everyone who makes it possible for us to go and have the best weekend of the year there. You're all amazing people. I am a very tired boy. It is time to go home and go to bed. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully pictures of this will be up very soon. Big thanks to my man Bob for letting me use his camera all weekend and take the most pictures that I've ever taken at a convention. I am so pumped to see those. It's been a long time since I've been super jacked to see pictures that I took. But Bob, you're the man. You're the man now, Bob.
Number one.
Bob he's my number one Bob. That's a Batman thing, right?
Yeah.
You're my number one guy?
Yeah.
Anyways, Joe, you're the man.
Hey.
Love you very much. Thank you for coming on and doing this.
Super happy to be here. Like you said, it's the best weekend in the year, and I love doing it with you guys.
Oh.
That's what matters. I'm going to end this now. Alex, thanks for coming on. It was a good time.
You're welcome.
All right, this is going to be it. So until next time, I have been JR.
I'm Alex.
I'm Joe.
And this has been episode I gotta get my breath because I lost my notes. Stalling. 368. I had so many notes I had to scroll down. That's how many. 368 of opinions may vary.